Today feels really different because here I am, Kids Entertainer Podcast, but I'm speaking to my co-host that we top and tail with. So I'd just like to welcome Julian Mather to the Kids Entertainer Podcast.
And it's exciting to be here, and it is a little bit different to how we normally do it because I'm actually here in person with Ken, and there's no screen between us. There's that, globe that normally separates us is not there.
Yeah, and the time zone is not separating us either. You're about what? You're about 12 hours out, 13 hours out of your own personal time zone now.
That's right, which actually means I'm supposed to be asleep here, so I'll try to make some sense.
But it's great to have you here, Julian. And you guys, listeners to the Kids Entertainer Podcast, you'll hear us topping and tailing. But one of the things you might not know is who we are and kind of what our background is. So, Julian, can you paint us that picture that we ask our guests to paint of your journey?
I came into children's entertaining late in life. I got an interest in magic at probably about, if I remember, it's about 35 years old. And I'm happy to say I'm 54 years old now. So I've been doing it, about 20 years. Professionally, full-time, I made the big leap from my previous employment as a globe-trotting television cameraman, having a pretty good life. Just decided that wasn't for me anymore. And about 7 years ago, I just took the big leap and said, I'm going to follow my passion and become a children's entertainer. And I didn't know much about I knew a bit about magic, and I was doing good shows, so I knew that I could entertain people. I didn't know if I could run a business, but I thought it's now or never. And, sometimes you have to take that, big running leap across the void and, like they say, learn to grow wings on the way down.
It's a scary step, isn't it? From going from, you worked in being a cameraman for ABC, that's Australian Broadcasting Corporation, for over 25 years. And you kind of made it to the top. You had all the awards and you travelled all over the world. And you've shared that you learned magic by having loads of time spent in hotel rooms and nothing much to do.
Well, what we always used to do, I used to, because I spent I would spend over 100 nights a year away. Generally, as a rule of thumb, I was away a third of the year. And I always decided after a short time, it became apparent that there's really two ways that you could do this when you traveled. And one was what a lot of people in the TV and media industry do, which is, go to the bar. There's another term we use. I won't use it here. But you spend your money and your life at the bar. And the alternative to that is you sit in the motel room and you count the bricks in the wall every night, watching TV or doing something. And I decided if I'm going to spend a third of my year away, I didn't want to do that. So I used to have what I called a plan B. So my main life at home was my plan A, and plan B was when I was away. So I used to take parts of my life away. I used to do things like black and white photography. So I used to take like a portable darkroom, because if you're in a motel room or a hotel, bathrooms are small, dark places with very little light, perfect for dark rooms, and they have PowerPoint and they have plumbing. Everything you needed for printing black and white photos. So I used to spend my whole nights in there printing these black and white photos, being creative. That went to a slightly impractical thing I did, was taking furniture away with me. And I used to restore old furniture.
What?
Yeah.
In motel rooms?
Yeah, in motel rooms. Now, this is when, not when I was travelling overseas, but if I was travelling in Australia, it would not be unusual if we were driving somewhere that I would have a queen hand dresser strapped to the top of the camera car. Yeah, it became a bit of a running joke there for a while. And then I got interested in magic. And I found I was doing my daughter's fourth birthday party, and my wife said, "Why don't you do something? You did magic when you were a kid." And I said, "Yeah, that was like 20 years ago." I just mentioned it to her. She said, "Why don't you do a birthday show, a magic show?" And I said, no. And if you know my wife, Vicky, she said, no, I think you should. And anyway, I was sort of like press ganged into doing it. I literally went down to the local library and got about 4 or 5 kids' magic books just out of the magic section. And I took them away with me. But what I found on this 2-week trip when I was away, that it was a very good thing to fill up my time when I was away. And over the years, this grew to people knew that I was interested in magic. and they would ask me to do something, because quite often we would go to a community or a school, because I used to shoot documentaries. It's not like news where you're there for half an hour. We were with people sometimes a week, sometimes 2 weeks. And so you became part of the fabric of that community. And a problem with the media, right, is people don't trust the media. Rightly so. If you watch TV and some of the antics that the media get up to, I can understand why. I found that magic was a great way to bring down that barrier and build people's trust when we were in a community. So they would ask me to go down to the school and do a show. And after a while, I was unprepared. And I thought, I hate being unprepared. So I got a camera case, a small, heavy-duty aluminium camera case, and I made that my magic show. It was my anytime, anyplace show. And the rules were, for the tricks that I put in there and the routines, that if they don't fit in the box, I'm not going to use them. And so quickly, I built this show that was windproof and weatherproof and angle-proof and child-proof, and served me in all situations. And I started to do these shows when I was traveling. By the time I left the ABC, I'd done over 200 school shows. I'd done them in Australia, I'd done them in the UK, I'd done them in the USA, I'd done them in South Africa, I'd done them in England, maybe some other places I can't remember. But I just was really happy doing these school shows. And I was also meeting people out there who were changing the world, and I got this idea that I wanted to do something to change the world. And to cut a long story short, I decided to create this schools program, and it was going to be the best thing since sliced bread, and it was going to really help all these people. And I built a business plan around that. Well, the business plan was a scrap of paper with what my ideas of how much money I could make out of this. But essentially, with this passion, I took the big leap, and I left the ABC to go and change the world. And that didn't work.
Well, it did. It may not have worked to your business plan, but it definitely worked, because you've touched the lives of so many people, which we're going to be getting onto a moment, whose world was changed because you made that step. But at the time, you kind of stepped out into now being a full-time, I guess, children's entertainer, and found it maybe a little tougher than you'd initially anticipated from the protection of having a full-time job. It's a scary move to take. But one of the things that you've shared with me, Julian, is, you speak about magic. And very often as children's entertainers, if we don't do magic, maybe we do face painting, balloon sculpting, storytelling, magic, it seems like, wow, that's the difficult stuff. But I know you steer clear of the difficult stuff.
Yeah, I very much go for easy to perform, self-working magic a lot of the times, because I want to concentrate on the performance. But early on, the reason I came to this is because I, coming from outside of magic, came with a different worldview, or a whole different view on the magic community. And I wasn't tutored from an early age about rules and regulations in magic. When I came into magic, I went to magic societies and magic clubs, and people were telling me, no, there are certain things you must do it this way, and the classic was, don't use sponge balls. And if you're not a magician, sponge balls are those little coloured, sort of soft balls. You put them in people's hands, and all of a sudden there was one. Now they've got two. Where they had two, now they've got six. And they were saying, no, you shouldn't do that, because that's old magic. That's, audiences don't like that anymore. But I was doing it with people and getting these fantastic reactions. So early on, I realized I wanted to be my own authority in magic, and listen to my audience, and my audience guided me. So I quickly learned that, difficult didn't mean good magic. You didn't have to be doing difficult, hard sleight of hand magic to get good audience reactions. I also was doing busking, because what I was doing was looking for an audience. If you're an amateur and not a professional magician, you've got problems finding an audience. So I thought, where can I find an audience? So I thought, I'm going to go out and learn how to busk on the street, do street performing. And so I went down to what we have, this busking pitch. I live in Brisbane in Australia, and we have a busking pitch called South Bank, big tourist parkland. Lots of people come through. And there are, seasoned professionals who travel the world doing street performing, who make their magic down there, who make their living down there. I had to go and line up with them and, take a spot and go out onto the big pitch. And, it was trial by What was that saying?
I don't know, trial by fire.
Yeah,
by,
trial by,
yeah.
ordeal by fire, trial by fire. And I went in there and I had some horrible crashes and burns. I literally went out and stood in amongst like literally hundreds of people and just fell flat on my face. What I realized, and rather than doing that, I went to quieter spots around this South Bank Parklands and started doing smaller shows. And when I mean small shows, I worked out quickly that all you needed to do was have three things: an opener, a middle, and a closer. You need an opener, which you could get people in and get their attention. You needed a middle. You could put, whatever you wanted in there, something slightly longer, and then you needed a strong closer. And by doing that, instead of going out and waiting a whole day to do 1.5 hour show on the big pitch, I was able to do 20 shows in one day. And it's by getting out and doing the repetitious shows like that. And these were short. I mean, I was over and done with in about 4 minutes, but I could do 20 of these a day and you just get better, faster, really faster. And that's how I started to develop confidence and how I started to develop my own performing style.
And I guess that your material and your performance style was sculpted by your audience because you were seeing so many different people. You were putting yourself out there and you were finding out what works and what doesn't work, not because of what somebody in a magic club was telling you, but because of what reactions you were getting out of your audience. And you aimed this at the family audience. You were happy going out there working for the children and the family audiences. And, it's interesting because your journey in magic makes you not the typical magician. Very often, if you ask someone who's does magic for a living how they got started, they start off by going, well, I was 6 years old and I got this magic set and blah, 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 blah. And it's almost like they get bitten by this bug and it takes them through. And they do tend to follow this kind of structure, and it's very formal and there's rules and regulations. You came in going, no, thank you very much. I'm going to listen to my audience. And you put together a magic show that worked without a huge amount of skill level. And that's the honest thing here. And you've gone on to share how that can be done. And that's what this talk is about today.
Because essentially what happened, I was driven to do that because I came out with this idea I was going to take this schools program that I'd left, that I was going to change the world with my grand vision. And simply, it didn't work because I didn't understand marketing. The show was a great idea, but I didn't know how to market it. So all of a sudden, I'd left my employment behind, and I needed to go, I need some income. So I wasn't interested in building just a magic show. I was interested in building a commercial magic show. And that really was, what did the audiences like? So I listened really, really, really intuitively and strongly to what the audiences were telling me. And that is how I formed my magic show. Now, I also have a passion for teaching. I've always just liked sharing knowledge and sharing my enthusiasm for things that I'm interested in with other people. I started also to create these videos just on YouTube when that came out. This is about 2007. And I put some small videos in there with basically to help my magic site along. And people started to like them, and they started to like comments. And that grew into what is now Julian's Magician School, which is over, it's about 23 million views now. And
23 million views, over 110,000 subscribers. I know that YouTube has recently honored you with the platinum play button because of the amount of subscribers that you have. It's insane. And I know that you get daily emails from people that have looked at your videos online and have kind of learnt an easy to do magic trick, and it's for people young in magic. And that doesn't mean you need to be a youngster. That doesn't mean you need to be 12, 13 years old. It's people young in magic. Is anyone that doesn't have a magic career. And I know you got loads and loads of ladies that follow you on Julian's Magician School and love what you do there.
Yeah.
And you bring to that a lot of passion, great performance, and you also bring a little bit of your television career because it's really shot beautifully and the sound is good and the lighting is good.
What was interesting out of that was that when I was putting the videos out there, I assumed that just children were watching them. I mean, magic tricks, and simple magic tricks. And then when I went into my statistics on YouTube, I saw there was a big spike between 45 and 55 years old. And that was male as well as female. So I started to think, like there are other people out there who following me. Anyway, I started to build a little bit of a community around this, and I'd have conversations with them, and I'd get to, just get to know who was following me and what their interests were. And I quickly found out who these people were, and I know exactly who they were. They were me 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'll explain that. If I'm doing a show, it could be a public show, let's say at the opening of a big store, and you're hired to do, like a magic show and maybe some strolling and entertaining. Because I was doing street performing and busking, I can easily go out and just stand on a chair and gather a crowd around me and do a quick 10, 15-minute show. And that's really effective in those situations. If I do that, with street performing, what you want to do is you want to get people in tight. The first people who come in, you want to get them tight in around you in a tight group, and you call those your anchors, and you work those people and you build a relationship with them, and you don't ignore the rest of the audience, but you really focus on these people, and that helps. You get a tight crowd around you, because a tight crowd is a paying crowd in the street performing world. There will always be this main crowd in front of you, and then standing back, there'll be 2 or 3, and they're generally men, and they're generally about 40 to 50 years old, and they'll stand back, won't be with the crowd, and they'll cross their arms, and they'll watch me from the moment I set up to the moment I walk away. And I know who they are. They're me 20 years ago, because that's what I used to do. I used to see these people performing and go, oh, I would love to be doing that, but how do you do that? And I'll watch everything they do, and I'd look at them and just go, I've got no idea how I could do that. How can you stand on a chair or a box and call out and get people, and why will they stay? It was a complete mystery to me, but I was fascinated by it, and I knew that other people had these same questions. So what I started to do was I asked these people who were following me on Julian's Magician School what they wanted. And they wrote back in 33,000 words exactly what they wanted. And it's not just, this is not just 45-year-old men out there. This was 12-year-old boys, 60-year-old grandmas. We had professional magicians of 25 years experience, 35-year-old mum of 2. We've got face painters, high school science teachers. We've got active members of the IBM, the biggest magic society in the world. They were all interested to know what I had found out about how do you stand in front of a group of people like this? How do you put a show together? And that's what they want to know is how do you actually put a show together? How do you take a series of tricks or jokes or gags or balloon twisting or whatever you do, how do you put that together and make a show out of it? Is there some sort of special glue that you put in between everything that you do that holds it together? How do you start it? How do you finish it? They had all these questions, and there was a lot of interest in this. So I thought there's only one thing to do, and that's to try to answer that question. So I put it all together, and I made a course called Build Your Magic Show.
And, just before we look at Build Your Magic Show, because I really want to speak about that, and you've spoken about the genesis of how that came about and those 33,000 words coming from the audience asking you about it, but when we see someone doing magic or somebody entertaining, there's often that thought of, that's a born entertainer. And you couldn't be further from a born entertainer. Your background includes being an army sniper. You've got a really colorful background, a television cameraman for many years, and you didn't even put your big toe into entertaining, So
I essentially, because, and when I look at it now and I look back at it being an army sniper and being a cameraman, I was literally hiding. Like I was physically hiding behind something that I was viewing the world through.
Yeah.
And I hadn't, there was always something in me that I wanted to be, there's just, I didn't want to be in the limelight. It wasn't like, look at me, look at me. I just wanted to be the best person I could.
Yeah.
And that always seemed to be an extent. I thought, I could do that. I know I could do it. But it was like I had my hands tied behind my back. It was like like I had the park brake, driving through life with the park brake on, always feeling like I wanted to brake forward, but not knowing what it was.
There was a question that was asked in a Facebook group recently, and it was a Facebook group where children's entertainers hang out. It wasn't Kids Entertainer Hub; it was a different one, because I hang around in the Kids Entertainers Facebook groups, and it was a magician, and he posted and he said, "Hey, all of you kids entertainers out there that are not magicians, if there was a course." And that you could go and learn some magic tricks that would work and how to put that together, would you be interested? And I was really interested to see the replies that were coming in, because they were coming in one after another, after another, after another. Yes, sign me up. I'd be in. Well, as long as the cost's right, if it's the dates are good with me, I'll definitely. And there were dozens and dozens and dozens of people replying pretty quickly. And I guess that was an indicator that there maybe are people out there that would love, like you're talking about that person standing with their arms folded, looking at this person performing and doing the magic, that would love to learn it. And I guess you having that love and that passion for teaching, and having the experience of going from not having this performing background, not being a magician, to putting that together, and you've put this together in a course. It's almost a formula that you've brought together there. But I guess a question I have is, isn't confidence a big barrier? Don't you have to have a certain magical... Because to stand up there, that sounds scary to me, to stand in front of people.
It's huge, and it was the big... luckily, I've got... I don't know how to describe it. Maybe it's just a dumb stupidity. And I can throw myself into things. I mean, I prepare, but I'm willing to throw myself into things. And I've got a big fear of failure. I don't like failing, so I really do try to prepare. But it gets to a point where it's just all or nothing, and I'm like that. I'm willing to take the leap. But what I found was that when I started doing this street performing was that you could fail badly. And that's when I thought, I've got to be smarter than this. So what I have essentially done, I've devised what I call the magic safety net. And that is, I don't like to go out and stand in front of a crowd and fail, because I've done it and it's awful. So now I've built routines and shows, which I have this thing, they're called GRPs, they're called guaranteed reaction points. And they're little, they're either tricks or jokes or gags, which I know that if you just do them, I mean, if you literally stand there and say the words or do the simple thing, you will get a laugh or a reaction. And it's not just me, because I know all around the world now have people who are doing this, they can do it. But what it means that if you put these like little stepping stones throughout your show, and in my show, my 40-minute show, I've got 16 of these, and I still use, and I don't use them that much now because I'm sort of like developed myself past that point, but they're always there. So if anything goes wrong, if my sound system goes down, if I'm just having a bad day, I've misread something, like I've unfortunately made a child cry. It doesn't happen that often, but maybe it does. I've got the guaranteed reaction point to go to, and all I do is shorten what I'm doing, and I run to that stepping stone, and I get a reaction. The audience laughs, the tension is released, and I can take a breath and regain myself and move on to the next thing. So I liken it to, like if you were learning to tightrope walk.
Yep.
If you walked out on a tightrope and you had nothing below you, you just wouldn't do it. The repercussions for failing are really severe.
Yeah, very.
Yeah. But if you put a safety net under you, and once you've fallen once and you realise, oh, actually I don't hurt myself, I can just get back up from this, it's not that bad, and have another go. That's why I've called it the magic safety net, because you can now walk this magic tightrope of performing, and you're not going to hurt yourself. Like it's in a sense taken that fear of failure away. And it took me quite a while to work this out, but it was through self-interest.
And you call them GRPs, guaranteed reaction points. And the word there is guaranteed, because you know that this works, and you know from doing it thousands of times, and the audience showing you that these things work, and it's simple things. You share this for free. You share this information that you're discussing now for free, just in the videos that kind of lead up to your course Build Your Magic show. And if anybody's listening to this and you want to find out more about these GRPs and what they are and how you can use them, you don't even have to be doing magic to use these. They can be used by anybody. Then pop on over to the show notes and go and sign up and check those videos out, because they definitely made an impact on me when I looked at them. And I looked at them after being a professional magician for 35 years. I remember writing to you saying, hey, this is good stuff. Yeah. You're giving away the real stuff here.
There's 4 videos, and there's almost an hour's worth of free training there. And this is, I mean, this is not fluff. This is top of the line training. This is such practical tools that any entertainer can use, and it's free because I've got this bit of a bug about actually trying to change people's lives in some way, and I'm not trying to be grandiose about that. It's just about I want to make my time that I've got useful. Yeah. And so I thought, why not just give this information away at the head and just go through that? And I mean, you don't have to do the Build Your Magic Show course. It's not for everyone. It might not suit you, but the information you're going to get out of these 4 free training videos it's gold information.
We're going to come back to those free training videos. When you're speaking about you wanting to make a difference, you have a lovely saying that you want to leave a mark. You don't want to leave a stain. I just love that. And that comes from your mouth. I just love that. And you're saying that you want to make a difference. So you've got this course. It's called Build Your Magic Show. And it really is, I guess if I was to put it in my words, and we'll obviously hear in your words, because I've made my way through that as well, it basically takes you by the hand. It takes you by the hand as a complete novice, and leads you step by step through everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. It is so comprehensive that you need to know and do to be able to perform magic successfully for children. And there's all aspects of that, including business, how you should dress, what your box should look like, what kind of material to use, down to the very details of how to handle it, even the easy self-working tricks, how to hold them, what pocket to put them in. It is really, really in depth. The aim there to change people's lives. Have any lives been changed from this?
Yeah, and I'm so proud to say this. When I started this whole venture about 1.5 years ago, I hoped that it would change people's lives. And now, I'm happy to mention people by name.
Go ahead,
because
please, go ahead.
We have we have face painters. We have Jasmine Royce. We have Christine Mentz, who've come in, who've never picked up a magic trick in their life, and now have changed their life. I mean, they're making substantial income from doing magic shows. They never thought they could. We've got Steve Wick and we've got Andrew Reddy, who are on the cusp, very, very close to going full-time in magic. It was a passion and an idea that they had, and they've leapt on and they've just taken all this information and they're running with it. They're getting very, very close. We've got people all around the world. We've got Tor Skyton in Sweden. Tor is now doing, he'd be doing at least 12 to 15 shows a month now. But even more than that, he had a passion, a real desire to want to go out and street perform.
Yeah.
And he's doing that now through this course. Because the course itself, it's just a great course. And the reason I say that is because I built it because there was nothing when I was starting anything like this. And I wanted something like this. I wanted mentoring. And this course, more than anything else, is the next best thing to having a mentor in a world where you can't find mentors anymore. Plus, and I did not plan for this to happen, a community has built around Build Your Magic Show.
Yes.
And it is a community, it is possibly the most supportive place on the internet that you can go if you want to learn to be a performer. It is centered around a secret Facebook group.
Yep.
And you get in there and it's not people talking about It's people doing.
Yeah.
And there's certain rules to the group. And the rules are, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but it's think, try, and do, then post. So, it's not like forums where people get on and complain. It's about go out and actually do something, then come back and report and share what you've learned with others. And it's all about support. It's supporting people. And the growth that has come through this is just phenomenal.
You're speaking about those people whose lives have been changed, and there's many of them, and you see them because they all hang out in the Build Your Magic Show Facebook community. And the thing is, they don't leave. It's not like they finish Build Your Magic Show and off they go. They stay and they are part of that community. And you spoke about you were looking for a mentor. It goes beyond mentorship because the alumni, the graduates, become the mentors, and they're in supporting the newcomers, the newcomer that's coming in and struggling with something. Then you've got Steve Wickington, who'll pop in and say, oh yeah, I remember struggling with that. What I did was this. And then Andrew Reddy will say, well, what I did with this. And then you'll have Christine in there. And it's just so supportive. And for me, it's kind of the kind of place that you go in and you get, if you've had a really bad day, something didn't go quite right, you've tried a show and you've tried a trick and it didn't work out for you, you got the and the understanding to kind of pick you up again. People that understand what it's like and where you're at when you've had a good day. Boy, do they celebrate with you. I mean, we have Andrew now, just recently, as we're making this, that has just gone and done his first paid school show. And he was aiming for that and trying to break into that market. And and everyone is just congratulating him. And it is just so supportive. And it's I guess it's taken on a life of its own.
It is, and it's wonderful to see the face painters and the balloon twisters who have come in and taken or brought magic into what they do and lifted their own game, and they've lifted their bookability. They've lifted the rates that they're charging for their services. It is literally life-changing.
So there's this course. It's called Build Your Magic Show. What is it? Talk us through the course. So if I was now to be part of this course, what am I getting?
You're getting a whole system, a step-by-step guide to build a commercial kids family magic show. In the course, I take you through everything that I do to earn an income. And before I go into a little bit of detail and tell you what's in there, it's important to understand I work also on this principle of leverage. I don't want to learn a whole heap of new stuff for every new show. So I've been really focused in my magic career on finding stuff which can be repurposed. I'm big into repurposing. So what you learn in Build Your Magic Show is what I use as the core for my kids' family magic show, my older kids' family magic show. I use it for educational preschool shows, a whole suite of shows. And it's also part of my school show as well. It's all repurposed and repackaged. But so essentially, everything I earn my income out of, all these different shows, there's a nub of about 60% of the material is all central and core to all my shows that I do. And everything is built around this structure of whatever you do, leveraging it up to use it in another form of your entertaining.
And how do you get that over? How do you show it? Is it a book? Is it videos? I'm leading here because I know exactly how you do it. But it's very clever, Julian.
It's all online and it's in a membership site. So essentially what you get is you get your own login and your password. And you go into the membership portal, which is completely private to, it's only, for you and the members. The rest of the world don't see it. And in there's over 30 hours of videos.
30 hours?
Yeah, and they're all highly produced videos, and they're all tightly scripted videos. There's no fluff in Build Your Magic Show. It's very, very tight. It's also backed up with audio lessons. There's extra audio lessons. It's also backed up with PDFs. There's scripts. There's also, we've had members who've had trouble hearing, and so they've asked for transcripts. So on certain routines where they can't see my lips moving, the transcripts have been added as well. It's also backed up with 30 live performances. Now, I don't just mean 30 videos of me doing the show. I actually went out and recorded myself doing 30 different shows. So,
Wow.
and some people have said, oh, why are you putting the repetition in? Now, a very small amount of people have said that. The majority have seen the value in this, and the value is that you see it works in the real world. And I show you the same show for a 4-year-old audience. I show it to you for a 5 to 7-year-old. I show it to you for an 8 to 9-year-old. I show it to you in a preschool or early learning setting. I show it to you in a school setting to older kids. I show it to you outside in the park. I show it to you in strolling setup. There's 30 different performances because I want people to understand that this material works. And that's the only reason I do it, is because, remember, this was critical to me that I constructed a commercial magic show myself, because I had literally thrown away my previous 25 years of my career, and I needed to eat, and we need to keep the roof over our head. So everything is audience tested in the real world. So it's broken down into 5 modules. The first module is I should say my general show, which is my kids family show. What I call the big red box of magic show, is broken down into 3 distinct sections. Because remember back I said when I was doing street performing, I worked out doing tricks on opening, middle, and closer. My show is an opener, a middle, and a closer, and my opener runs 12 minutes. And a lot of people get really confused. How can an opener run 12 minutes? It's a whole heap of routines in there, but all the routines are specifically designed to train the audience. Because a lot of people say they have trouble controlling the audience, controlling the parents. Everything I've done tells the audience that if they respond the way I want them to respond, the reward is fun. And I mean, I don't stand there and say that. It's inherently built into the routines and the structure. And by the end of this 12-minute opener, I launch into the middle part of the show, and I have no behaviour problems.
I just have to say that at the end of the 12 minutes, and when you say 12 minutes, it is 12 minutes. I've watched it, and it really is 12 minutes. They are eating out of your hands. And there's a lot of psychology that is built in how you guide the behaviour. And you don't do it verbally. Although, of course, you do cover how to handle behavior as well. It's really, you cover everything. But you do it very cleverly. It's built into the routines, and you give the structure and the formula of how to do that, so that at the end of that opener, they're on your side. They're with you on this journey. They've gone from being individuals that have sat down to watch a funny man do some magic to being a group. They act as one, and you're the leader.
And it's very much, I like it. So I have this 12-minute opener where I train the audience to engage and react to the show the way that I want it. And the reason I want it like that is because it makes the person who books me, it makes their day easier, because I've got control of the kids in the show, but also the adults in there. So it means that people who book me can get on and do what they want to do, which is set up food, deal with all those other problems. They don't want to be dealing with bored adults. So I control everyone, and then we launch into the middle part of the show, which is all about the audience. So the first part of the show, I don't get any volunteers up or do anything like that, but the middle part of the show is where I get the audience interaction in. And it's like, I liken my whole show to going on a plane flight. You take off, and it's, and the engine's really loud, and it just feels, like there's something going on. It's a lot of pressure, and you're going up steeply, and then you feel the engines throttle back, and then you get into that cruise. Well, that's what my show is like. It's a steep climb, and then it levels out into the cruise for the middle of the show. And then when you get to the, you start your descent, then it changes again. Then the whole pace of the show changes, because you can't just finish a magic show. You can't just finish any performance, whether you're doing it on balloons, with anything you're doing, because you have to let people get back into the real world. You can't just cut it off like that. Yeah. And so the show is geared, the pace changes, a whole lot of things changes, all based on psychology. And I mean, when I say psychology, Ken, I don't even know the terms. All I did was react to the audience telling me over the years. But you gently bring them back down into the real world. And the real world, say you're in a birthday party, is going on to what's happening at the birthday. And so the way I structure it is they go into cake cutting at the end there. So again, it's keeping control. It's, the mother who books you doesn't have to wonder what's going on next. It just smoothly transitions. And while they're off doing that means I'm packing up and I'm out of there.
It's a blueprint for success. And this is evident by the people that have engaged in the course, that have gone out. And it's really interesting to see the comments. And when I say comments, I just want to mention that the pages, every page where you're learning is an interactive page where there are comments, where people can ask questions, where I know you, Julian, go in if there are any questions. And you can, well, in the beginning, it was just you going in and answering the questions. Now everybody's going in. All the past learners are in there saying, oh, well, this is what I do. So you can ask. It's very, very interactive in there.
Well, that's a great thing about the whole course is that it actually grows over time.
Yeah.
I mean, days of DVDs are gone, my friends. I mean,
And that's why, I baited you in the beginning when I said, come on, tell us how is it? Is it a book? Is it video? Because I wanted you to speak about that because it is really clever. And I just wanted to come back to those comments. This is real world stuff and it really works. And it's interesting to see the newcomers, somebody who just joins up and you see they go out and they'll try something. And they come in and they're putting the comments in. It's almost like they are surprised that this is actually working.
And at the end, I got off track there. It's built into 5 modules. And the first module is the opener. The second module is the middle of the close. The third module is the closer. That one I was talking about, bringing the audience back into the real world. And then module 4 is all about strolling. Because part of what we do, if you want to increase the bookings you get, make yourself more bookable, if you can take on strolling gigs. Now, again, it can be with magic, it can be with balloons, it can be with whatever. I teach you what I do. And like I said, a lot of it is what I use in the show, but I repackage it in a different way that people don't even realize it's the same stuff. But I don't have to go and relearn all this material. And then the 5th module is what freaks people out a lot and used to freak me out until I worked out how to do it. And that's performing for older kids. And older kids, I mean pretty much 8, 9 and older. So 8, 9 to 12 or 13. Yeah, I mean, because that age, as we all know, if you're an entertainer, they hunt like a pack of wolves looking for the lame deer to take down. And early on, I was that lame deer, and it's not fun. And the thing is that you get your back up against that, and you say those awful kids, but they're not. All they are is as you know, Ken, is all the psychology behind this, but they're just gearing themselves up for testing themselves out for the challenges that are coming in life. So you're like young lions and bucks, knocking horns together and trying it out. So if you understand, and I go through and explain this, and I've only just learnt this through experience, a bitter experience, that if you give them the right material, it's just wonderful. You can play with them, you can bait them, and so that's the 5th module in the course.
It's a really valuable module, and Julian, you're meeting the children where they're at. You have an understanding of child developmental theory, although you may not have read the books. And you said, oh, well, I don't really know the psychology under it. I just know this work. Well, you do know the psychology, because all psychology is watching people's behavior and measuring what happens if you do different things. That is exactly what psychology is. It's experimenting, creating different conditions and seeing how people react. And you've done that thousands and thousands and thousands of times by getting out and doing the material. It's tried and tested, I like to say, in the trenches, especially when you're working the older kids. It's really in the trenches. It's the war zone out there. But it isn't the war zone if you do the right material and you treat the children respectfully for where they're at. And here's the thing. That is a market that is very untouched, those older children. So when you've got that material, your competition is relatively thin on the ground, because you've got something that nobody else wants to do, really, because they don't have the stuff that works. And you teach it in Build Your Magic Show.
And I also add in, and this is really important, because one of the other things that I found really helped me advance was when I let go of my ego. Because when I started in magic, I went out and did the big circle shows because I wanted to be the expert. I wanted to be out there and, oh, look at this worldly man. He must travel around the world and entertain people. And I failed doing that. And when I let go of my ego and said, just go down to the quiet corner and do it for a couple of people, and I realized the value I got personally from that in how fast I improved, I put that into Build Your Magic Show. And at the end of each module, I've got what are called action steps. And really what they are is I implore you, some people listen, some people don't, but I implore you to let go of your ego and take the really simple things that I've taught. And I've actually put together a structure for you that if you've never done magic before, you can go along to a party. And this is the important thing. You don't book yourself as the magician. You go along to the party as the person who's going to go and help entertain the kids. And I show you how to take the routines and use them in a way that you can't fail with them. But what it does is it gets you standing in front of people with a magic prop and doing semi-magic effects, but making people laugh. Everything's engagement-based. And all of a sudden you get that feel of what it's like to stand in front of people. And at the end of the second module, there's the next step for that. So what you can do is gradually work your way in. And I know from different people in the course, I mean, there are some people who go, no, I'm not doing that. I'm doing what I did at the start too. It's human nature. I can understand that. But other people have taken those action steps and they've actually improved faster than a lot of the people who ignored that.
It's incremental, the learning process. And it's interesting because I'll share with our listeners that in my other role, outside of entertaining children, I work as a lecturer and I lecture psychotherapy at a local college here in the UK. And part of my job there is to put together lesson plans and make sure that we hit criteria and we have curriculums and we learn about learning styles and how learning should be put across so that it's easy to understand. And inadvertently, Julian, maybe because of your own learning style and how you prefer to learn, you've gone ahead and put together something that would meet the criteria to be a degree in entertaining children. It really is that comprehensive. It goes into that level of detail. If there was an awarding body that could award this, you could submit that and you could get it approved because it is outstanding. And you cater for the different kinds of learning styles as well, the audio, the visual, the kinesthetic, and this is how you hold the products and the routines that you do. It is really, really comprehensive, really broken down, and you've got that safety net all the way through.
And, there's a reason that I did that, because when I went through school, I felt like I was stupid. I was made to feel like I was stupid because they taught at a certain way and a certain pace that, in the middle of the bell curve, it was for the average student. It worked, but it didn't work for me. And I used to slip behind. But I always used to think, I'm not stupid, but I've missed basic building blocks. And it's always been, it's not a chip on my shoulder, but it's been a bugbear, I guess. So I've always liked explaining things to people in multiple ways and thinking of analogies. I'm a real analogy person. I love if you explain physics to me with analogies of, like if you talk about electrons, it's cars whizzing down a freeway and there's big trucks and little cars and big electrons. I get that if you can paint it in, like a picture for me. So that's what I do with my training as well. Really important for me that everyone gets an opportunity to learn in a way that's suitable for them.
It is. It's so inclusive. So, you've spoken about how this came about, the genesis of Build Your Magic Show and a kind of your journey that brought you to putting this all together. You've spoken about the lives that have been changed and you've spoken about what is in it. So it's over... How many hours of video?
Well, it's over 30 hours of high-definition video, fully edited. You'll see it's just very, very structured and well thought out. Then there's the MP3, so that's the audio files. I don't know how many hours of those there are. And there's loads and loads of PDFs. Plus, as we were saying, it's an interactive course. So you go below each video on the lesson plan, and there's all the comments and ideas that other people have put in. There's also a second Facebook group as well. So you've got the main Facebook group where you can interact and learn and build the community and get empathy from other people. But there's a really practical Facebook group called the BYMS Materials Group. So everything that is used in the shows, people, again, very, very strict rules. You go in and it's a very easy place to access and find the latest information, where to get the props and techniques, anything that you need that is mentioned in the course. It's there laid out for you step by step.
And I also know that you've got a whole section where top of the tree professionals have come and given their time to kind of give a broader view on some of the topics that you cover.
Yeah, I simply reached out to professionals, and I was just my local magician who, I always be very, very careful to say this. My authority is I will speak. I'm an expert on leaving a well-paid, respected job and running away, in a sense, and joining the circus. That's what I'm an expert on, and that's what Build Your Magic Show is. It's exactly how I achieved that. But what I did was reached out to these people who've been professionals in this game for 20, 30, 40, 50 years and said, can you come in and share your knowledge and encourage people to take the step? Because remember, the first step to performing quite often seems really high for people. So we've tried to break that down, and part of that is listening to other people and their advice. So we've got people like, great comic writers and performers like Robert Baxt. We've got newcomers like Christopher T. Magician. We've got Ken Scott. We've got John Kimmins with his ventriloquism. We've got Tom Crowell with ventriloquism. Who else we got? I can't think of.
You've got Silly Billy, who is probably one
David
of the
Kay.
best known names in children's entertainment. He wrote a book called Seriously Silly, which is one of the best sellers, and he gave his time, not just in one video. That's broken.
No, there's a
down
whole series.
Yeah.
These are exclusive interviews. You won't find them anywhere else. And they're also based around the information and knowledge I want to know. What do they know about audiences that they've worked out over the years that makes audiences less scary? So I'm not asking them what their favourite trick is. I do occasionally, but it's all about their knowledge about standing in front of people and getting over that hurdle, that fear of failure, what they've learnt, what they can share.
So comprehensive, and as I've referred to it before, kind of the university degree in learning children's magic.
It's not. I've had so much feedback on this, really great feedback, and it was one person wrote in that this is the postgraduate course in children's entertaining.
There it is, and there it is from somebody else's lips as well, because that was my feeling on it. And I guess if I wanted to go and do a degree, well, I know, because I work at a college, I know how much that costs, and I think in comparison to professional education, your package price for Build Your Magic Show is really respectful. It needs to be respectful of the time and effort and the information that's put in there. But if you price it in terms of what you earn per magic show, it's a few magic shows worth for the whole course. But I also know that you can't buy it. You want to buy Build Your Magic Show? You cannot. You cannot buy Build Your Magic Show. You can't just go along there and just get your money out and buy it. You need to go through a process if you want to get into Build Your Magic. So what is that process, and how, if people are listening to this and they're interested in kind of finding out more, what is the process?
The simplest way right from here, if you're listening to this, is to go to the show notes page at Kids Entertainer Hub, and you'll see a link there, and click on that, and you'll see a little video of me sitting there talking to you, telling you sort of stuff that I've been telling you here, and you'll also see the pet rock that was sent to me. Yeah, it really is a great job that we do as kids entertainers, where kids are so, I guess, influenced and moved by what you've done that they're going to send you their pet rock. And so anyway, I ask you to put your name and your email in, and look, just do it, because everything Ken and I do here at Kids Entertainer Hub and Magician Business that we are so respectful of you and your need to privacy. Give us your email address. We always like to say that we treat it like Cinderella's glass slipper.
Yep.
Yeah, and if you don't find that you and I, Ken, are a good fit, then no problem. Everything, you just click a button, and you'll never hear from us again. There's no problem there. But just go in, put your name and email address, and in your email you will get, over a period of 10 days, 4 videos. And these videos are just jam-packed. They are chock-a-block full of almost life-changing information in those 4 videos themselves. I go through and I tell you what I look for in routines and tricks. I show you gags. Joe's GRPs I was telling you about?
Oh, yeah.
In the first video, I show you a great GRP. Anybody can do it, guaranteed reaction from it. A whole heap of other stuff. In the second one, I go through and show you in fine detail, that show structure I was telling you about, the opener, middle and closer, the plane ride going up and going down. I explain that. I show you exactly why I put these things in and what it does to the audience and the reactions. I map that out completely for you. In the third video, I go in and explain this idea about leveraging, about using that material and how you can then create a whole suite of other shows. Should you be interested in doing that? Should you be interested in making yourself ultimately more bookable and having your calendar full? I show you what I do. And it's all laid out there. I give you my blueprint that I use for this. And then in the fourth video, I tell you some stories about myself and about my fear of failure, things that have scared me in life, and I'm quite open and honest with you there. Yeah. You see my first ever video of my first ever magic show. Go and have a laugh at that. And then I show you the course. I'll take you through it, and then I'll show you inside the course what you can expect to see. And at the end, if you think that this is a good fit for you, jump in and have a go. You can get access to everything for $75 to start with.
Unbelievable.
And if you're not happy, everything we do comes with a 60-day money-back guarantee. No questions asked. Just quietly, discreetly, we'll just send your money back to you. So all the risk is on us.
This is a win-win, isn't it? There's nothing to lose. All this information you've spoken about that you cover in these videos, all free.
Yeah.
You're just popping your name and email address in.
And I just want to cover a point on that there, is that people go, oh, what's the catch? What's the catch? I'll explain. I said that, I do like encouraging people. I like teaching people. I like sharing. But there's actually an ulterior motive in this for us, and that is a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yep.
And I honestly think that the better performers that are out there, the better children's entertainers that are out there, the more work I'm going to get. Because the best ad for me as a children's entertainer is other good children's entertainers. And, kids magicians. If someone sees a good kids magician, a good kids entertainer, other people think, oh, that might be a better thing than getting the bouncy castle or the petting zoo or going to the play centre.
Yeah, the death of us children's entertainment, because that's our real competitors. Those things that take people away from people who entertain children. If you're listening to this, you've never done magic before, go and take a look. You've ever wondered, how do you take those steps in and kind of learn those new skills? Go and have a look. You're going to see how simple and how comprehensive this really is. And if, let's say you're listening to this, you go, yeah, well, I'm already a kids magician. I've got the magic show and I got the box and I do a number of shows. Well, so was I when I found your videos. And the interesting thing is, I watched your 4 free videos and I already learned stuff that is still in my show today. And all I'm going to say is bicycle bell, honker, ha, 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 and is it a whistle?
Yeah.
And a whistle. I'm not going to say what that is. If you want to know what that does to control an audience, go and have a look at the free videos. But it is revolutionary.
Any professionals out there, everyone knows that you only need, if any other professional entertainer is willing to tip their knowledge and their information, everything they do to make an income, you just go ahead and get it, because you will learn something out of it. I've basically every course out there I've bought, because I know I'm going to get something out of it somewhere along the lines.
Julian, just you taking the time to share this with us, I think we've all got something out of just listening to you. Great stories. You speak with such passion. I'm watching you. Normally I watch you over Skype. I'm watching you here, and the hands are going, and it's really animated because you love this. You love it, and it's your baby, and you putting it out there. So thank you very much for taking the time to join us on the Kids Entertainer podcast.
Been an absolute pleasure.